So one of the things I've been thinking about, I'm taking you guys on a walk with me on the beautiful Sunshine Coast of British Columbia. I'm very lucky that social distancing while out is more than possible here. I might see one or two people on my walk and get within maybe 20 feet of them. It's a fine morning on March 31st. So by now, of course, many of you have explored and heard about all the different things you can do with your time to prevent insanity setting in while you're in self-isolation or just during this kind of lockdown situation, so that we can keep everyone safe, as safe as possible. But I think one of the things, there are many hobbies, etc., that you can explore, things that you can learn if you're not an essential service and going to work, and so on. But I think journaling is a very interesting tool and potentially a very helpful one. Now, some of you are going to cringe. I know that for me, for example, any kind of writing is going to tend to feel like work. But for those of you who love writing, journaling is an obvious go-to. For those of you who don't love writing, there are all kinds of forms of journaling that are much shorter, not onerous at all, that can be really helpful in a situation like this for your mental health, to vent, to get clarity, to problem solve, and so on. So just the kind of investigation I've done around journaling and the ways in which I've tried it, I think that there are kind of three aspects to it that stand out, and a number of ways you can do that. The first aspect, like let's say you keep a journal, and again, this can be 2 or 5 minutes that you do. It would be helpful to do it every day. This is just something that I invite you to try if you can stomach the idea or if it appeals to you. If you're already journaling, this may or may not be something that you find interesting to try adding to your regimen if you're not already doing it. The first aspect is, say you write down one thing every day. Again, this can be a very short form or it can be long form. One thing every day that you found very challenging. And it could be at any level. It could be at a really big level, like I don't have enough personal protective equipment to keep me safe. It could be that my smoke detector is going off and I'm in quarantine and I can't get a 9-volt battery to replace it, and I'm listening to this incessant ear-piercing beeping or whatever. I think acknowledging the things that are challenging and difficult, give you permission to feel how you should feel in this situation. So again, if you want to write free form and write till you can't say anymore, kind of a stream of consciousness, that can be really helpful. If that feels too onerous, just write one thing down, like in list format. So one thing that was difficult or challenging today at the end of the day. Number 2, one thing you're grateful for. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things you're grateful for. Taking you back home with me. So this can sound trite. Oh, we have so much to be grateful for. But the fact is that research supports that gratitude, focusing on what you're grateful for, gratitude, is helpful in weathering adversity. And whether, again, you make this a longer 5 to 20 minute free form, put your pen on paper and don't stop until you're kind of done thing, or whether it's just to list one thing that you're grateful for today. It could be something as profound as, I'm grateful for my health and my family's health. I'm grateful that I have the emotional and mental fortitude I need to get through this. Or it could be something as mundane as, in our northern climes, I'm really grateful to have excellent winter boots So when I do go outside to take out the garbage and it's icy, I don't completely wipe out. You know, when I was driving back from Illinois to Washington so I could walk across the border when this crazy thing broke out and come back to my home country, I had a lot of time to think. It took 5 days. I rented a van, as some of you know. I had a lot of time to think about stuff, and I remember a few minutes where I got really down about this whole situation. It's really scary. And I thought, okay, how can I pull myself out of this? And I thought of a number of things that helped me. I thought, you know, I'm grateful that I'm in a position to rent this van. I'm grateful for this van. It was a very nice van. I had to camp out in it for the duration of that trip in Walmart parking lots, etc. It was a nice van. I'm grateful that, you know, I have my health. Not everybody does, but there may be aspects within even a poor health situation that people can find to be grateful for. And I was grateful that I'm in a position in my profession to be helpful in this outbreak instead of feeling perhaps that it's harder to figure out how to contribute, although I think people are amazing in their ingenuity in figuring out there are so many ways to be helpful, but that's a topic for another video. And again, I'm sure many of you have already explored this in depth. So that really helped me get myself out of that space. You know, being grateful for any number of positive things, because we all get saturated in social media and it's easy to get really beaten down and get sucked into a negative despair vortex. But the human race has been through many, many pandemics. Hey, I'm grateful for the internet. Speaking of gratitude, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, as we know. Negative social media or inaccurate social media, saturation, misinformation. But when navigated, hopefully with discretion, what an incredible way when we're all in this kind of lockdown or semi-lockdown for us to be, as they say, socially distanced, but not socially isolated. Very important that we stay connected. And ways to stay connected with friends and family. The internet's an incredible tool. And to get information, however much we have to navigate through the nonsense. It's also a way that you can stay informed that people during, say, the Spanish flu in 1918 did not have at their disposal. Anyway, so the power of gratitude, you know, there's going back to a bit of research. I mean, is it hardcore randomized clinical trials? No, but there's quite a bit of research in integrative medicine about people with medical issues, even physical issues, and their symptoms improving when they journaled regularly. And again, that journaling can take many forms. But people with asthma, for example, showing improvement in their physical situation, their physical symptoms with journaling. So number one, something you found difficult or challenging. Number two, something you're grateful for. And number three, this is just a suggestion. You can do this however you like. But I think for me, one thing that's helpful is I want to focus on a theme for tomorrow. You know, what do I want to focus on? And maybe some of you are really busy still working and you don't have time for big projects. Some of you do because you're stuck at home and you're not, for better or for worse. In many cases, it's so stressful because people are not at work and the paycheck concerns, but you know, that's, at least this is something to focus on to cope with it, potentially, if you find it helpful. So you might focus on just an intention for the day. If you're busy, maybe you're a healthcare provider, maybe you're a police officer who's under a lot of stress, maybe you're a grocery store worker, a truck driver that's providing essential goods, delivery, etc. But at least you can focus on an intention. Maybe the intention for that day is self-love. I'm going to really focus when I hear that negative self-talk happening. I'm going to focus on how to be more loving and kind to myself. This is so vital in a time like this, to have compassion for yourself above all else. Maybe there's a big project you're working on and you want to immerse yourself in that theme. There's a project that maybe takes a day or maybe will take 2 months, but that's what you want to focus on. Maybe you want to do some gardening and you want to make that the theme of the day. Maybe you're learning a new topic, like you're learning how to speak French or Spanish, or you're learning to play guitar or ukulele. You want to make that the theme of the day. However much time you do or don't have for that. Pick something that fits with your time constraints. And maybe you want to meditate that day. Maybe even if you just have an hour to do that, that's going to be your focus. Maybe you want to focus on 1 or 2 random acts of kindness you can do to help someone who's having a hard time through this scenario. Like maybe it's social connection day with friends or family. In any case, there are lots of ways of journaling. The 5-minute journal is a popular method. Tim Ferriss, for example, uses that. He didn't invent it, but he uses it. And it's got some of these elements that I've been describing in it. And you can check that out on Amazon. I'll put some links below. There's lots of ways. I'll also post some links to an article that's interesting about the therapeutic value of journaling. It's been used a lot in helping people manage mental health issues. So yeah, potentially a very powerful tool. You might just want to get a blank page and do the free-form writing every day. Whatever comes to mind. The key is, don't edit. You're listening to me huffing and puffing. Clearly I don't get enough exercise and need to get out more. But this hill, I have to tell you, is steeper than it looks on video. Anyway, self-deprecation aside, I think there's lots of ways that you can investigate for journaling. The key is, as I said, not to edit. You just put that pen down if you're going to do free-form writing and write. Don't let that editor get in there. Just write whatever you think or feel. It doesn't have to make sense. This is of value. And for those of you that want to do the short form, like what I was suggesting in a short format, just listing a few things, I think it can help people kind of get in touch with themselves, how they're feeling, stay in touch with the positive while still acknowledging the difficulty. And it can help you focus so that you feel more grounded, more productive, like picking the number 3, picking the theme for the day, can be really helpful. So I think it's something I'd invite you to try out if you aren't doing it already. Again, just to review, number 1, something you found difficult or challenging today. Number 2, something you're grateful for. Number 3, what's a theme or something you want to focus on tomorrow? And go to bed that night, go into the next morning holding that intention or that plan of what you're going to focus on. Give you some focus, maybe some structure to your day. And I hope you find that helpful. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Be well.